Your mindset is the root of your reality. If you can change your mindset, then you can change your life. Welcome, Master Your Vibe. Mind bright, vibe right. The mindset reboot for those ready for some calibration to their vibration. I'm your host, King Yes Indeed, your guide for this vibrational journey, here to help you conquer any mental blocks, fine-tune your inner frequency, and navigate to your higher self. If you're ready to make your mind bright so you can vibe right, then you're in the right place. Let the journey begin. Yes, indeed. Welcome back to Master Your Vibe, Master Your Mindset. And today we are going to be discussing and talking about dimension number 2 of the 7 dimensions of mindset, which is the habit dimension. Now, if the lens dimension is about how you see the world, then the habit dimension is about how you process the world in your mind. So it's about what you think and how you process and interpret. Habits of thought are similar to like the roadways that the brain runs on. If you think of it as like a city map, typically when you go somewhere, you take the same route to work, the same route to your favorite supermarket, the same route to your favorite restaurant, the same route to people's houses that you know. And then sometimes you drive somewhere and you don't even remember how you got there. You're just sort of on autopilot. And that's what the habit dimension is talking about. It's talking about the things that we do that operate within us that are on autopilot. They are the automatic patterns that you repeat so consistently that you often don't even realize you're doing it. And so where your lens is the filter of your mindset, your habit can be the loop. And there can be good loops and bad loops. And together, these two dimensions, they form the foundation or a good portion of the foundation of your mindset. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. What is a mental habit? We often associate the word habit with our behaviors, things that we do, like, brushing your teeth in the morning is a habit. Hopefully, it's a habit. Checking and looking at your phone for text message or seeing if you got an alert. Your exercise routine. Let's see, what else could be a habit? Watching a certain show at a certain time. All of these things, and we talked about it earlier, the routes that you take to go to certain places, they can all be considered habits. But beneath some of the behaviors that we do, there are also some mental habits, and the mental habits are repeated ways of thinking. And again, we talked about these largely run in the background or on autopilot. And so some examples of some habits, and we're not going to talk about or give examples of some good habits. We're going to talk about some habits that we need to be mindful of and that we may need to address and even work on and change. And so the first habit is the habit of worry. And I know a lot of people are worriers out there. So the habit of worry is a repetitive mental pattern where you imagine negative future scenarios, where you are rehearsing certain problems that haven't happened yet, and you are mentally preparing for what your mind considers dangerous or danger. And this can happen when there's no immediate threat. There's nothing that says there's danger that's imminent. But because you worry so much, your mind is constantly trying to work out these scenarios and rehearse problems of what ifs in life, right? And preparing for something that hasn't happened. It's basically your mind's attempt to control the unknown or the uncertainty. And so that can be taxing, that can drain your energy. And it usually ends up doing just that, taking away your energy, and in turn fueling stress. You can be stressed out by trying to balance everything that you don't know or aren't aware of. um, some of the things that can trigger this worry habit is the unknown, the uncertainty, feeling that you have a lack of control over things. And what do I mean by that? So, like waiting for test results, right? If you ever took some blood work or took a test in school, or you did something and now you are literally waiting for the results of your performance, or whatever you handed in or whatever you gave, where you need those results back. Another one is, if you reached out to someone and you haven't heard back from them, you called somebody and they haven't returned your call in a day or two. Nowadays we got where you can send somebody a text message and you can even see if they read it, right? And you like, I know this person read it. It says they saw it and they haven't text back in, 20 minutes or whatever. So you can start worrying and thinking the worst, especially when they're usually pretty consistent and quick about returning, getting back with you. And then some of the behaviors you might start to see in people who worry, or yourself, if you are a worrier, you overthink, right? You avoid things. Procrastination, you procrastinate or hesitate in doing certain things or taking part in certain events. And then finally, and this is a huge one, seeking constant reassurance, always needing to be told it's okay, it's all right, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing over there, there's nothing wrong with whatever. All right, so that's the habit of worry. The habit of comparison. The habit of comparison talks about measuring yourself against others in order to determine what your value is, what your level or meaning of success is, and even worse, what your identity is, who you are. Right? So you're comparing yourself to something or somebody else's standards, or who someone else is, and you're putting their measurements and measuring yourself up against somebody else's measurements. Right? It's not. I think the dangerous thing is it's not a one-time thought, right? It's a default setting or a default operating system that filters how you see yourself and also how you see the world. Right? So that's why it's pretty critical that we recognize and do something about some of the triggers that can cause you to compare yourself or find yourself in this habit is the exposure to other people's achievements. So when you see other people around you, they're graduating, they're buying houses, they're getting married, they're buying cars, their business is successful, you start wondering how come you aren't able to do that, and you start wondering how come you haven't been married and all those things. It could be other people's appearance or your appearance, right? Oh, this person is beautiful, this person is in shape, this person has the latest handbag or shoes or hairstyle or sunglasses or whatever it might be. Um, I just talked a little bit about possessions. The person has the husband or wife, they have the house, they have the car, they have the job, they got the promotion and recognition, right? People are always saying, oh, this person is so wonderful and they're so smart and they're so intelligent and they got this award and this trophy and this degree. And you're constantly comparing yourselves across all of these avenues to other people. And so, an example: if you see a coworker get promoted and you haven't, if you see someone in your circle or someone you may not be in your circle, someone you may have thought oh, I think I'm doing a little bit better than that person, and now they got a house, and now they got a car, and now they got a good husband or wife, right? You might feel some type of way about that. And then I think this one is probably going to be the most relevant is when people post things on social media. Social media can be tricky to navigate because, people mostly post when they're doing well, right? Oh, I just bought me a house. Oh, I just graduated from college. Oh, just had a grandbaby. And they typically only share a lot of the good things. There's some negative things, but it's mostly good. And so then again, you start wondering, how come not me? How come I don't have? How come I didn't get? How come I'm not promoted? How come I'm not married? Right? All those things. Some of the behaviors that you might see in people or yourself that are dealing with the habit of comparison: overworking or over striving, forcing yourself to overexert yourself and giving all this energy to work trying to meet someone else's standards. All right. And then over striving, like maybe even reaching for a goal that is clearly you don't have the capacity to reach for. Clearly you don't have the skill set, but you just want to do it because you saw someone else do it. Procrastination, and we're not just talking about hesitation, but we're talking about a fear-based procrastination, and you don't do something because you don't think you're gonna measure up again to the standard that someone else has set. Uh, Another behavior: withdrawing or hiding your talent. So not putting your talents on display because you believe that they may not get the same accolades and you might not get the same reward and you might not get the same recognition. Please, whatever you are gifted at, I promise you, if it lands in the right place, you will get all the accolades, all the talent, all the rewards, all the praise. So just do what you do. Like LeVar Ball says, stay in your lane. That's what I do. I stay right in my lane, right? And then finally, imitating others instead of developing your own authentic path. And I can use myself as an example. If I'm doing this show, there are a lot of shows out there that people do, um, and so I'm not imitating anybody else. I'm trying to carve out my own path and my own subject matter. And so I'm not comparing myself to anybody. I'm comparing myself to me and trying to do the absolute best that I can do and putting my talents on display. So again, don't imitate others. Instead of developing your own path, develop your own path. Again, stay in your lane. The habit of catastrophic thinking. And if this is you, just just sit tight. I know a lot of people like this, and this is the repeated pattern of imagining the worst case scenario and believing it is the most likely thing to happen. Right? So you step on a plane and you think today is the day it's going down. Right? If you get a job, I'm gonna get fired on my first day. You could get fired, but you probably you more than likely won't get fired on the first day, right? You ever had those people that go to the top of a carnival ride, and there's been hundreds of people that have gone all day, but when you get up there, you believe that is the time the carnival ride is gonna malfunction. So again, imagining the worst case scenario and believing that it is the most likely thing to happen. And this is in lieu of having a balanced view of the future. What tends to happen is your mind magnifies the risk, it heightens the danger, and it inflates the loss to you. Even if the issues are small, they feel extremely overwhelming to you. And so some of the triggers that can land you in the catastrophic thinking arena are, again, uncertainty, stress, and even having minor setbacks. So if you started a business and you start losing money before you start making money, that's very common. But then you may start thinking, I'm a failure, my business is tanking, I gotta sell it, right? If you um if you are unsure about something, like I said, like the carnival ride, no one knows if and when those things are going to break. And so because you don't know, you'll tend to just think the absolute worst. And then here's a great example. You ever had um a partner or a spouse, or you're in a relationship and a person says, hey, we need to talk, and you immediately freeze, and now you're thinking, oh my god, what did I do wrong? They don't love me no more, we about to break up. She crashed the car, whatever it is, right? He gambled all the money away. I don't know what it is. It could be something as simple as that, where they need to talk to you, but it's not in that moment. And because you're uncertain about the subject matter, now you begin to just start think you begin to think the worst possible scenario is going to happen. And so some of the things that you begin to do, over prepare or obsess about these things. And so just the example I just gave, you begin obsessing about what is the subject matter? What does this person want to talk to me about? Um, why don't they just tell me right now? Right? You avoid decisions or risk altogether. And and I think this is how you perceive it, right? So decisions, we talked about the carnival ride. So you don't go on any carnival ride, you don't get on airplanes, you don't ride on trains, you won't buy a bicycle, you won't try anything for fear that you will get injured or the worst possible thing can happen. And then I think even more critically, you become indecisive, right? Because you imagine that the danger level is too high. And so you just begin to not do anything and just stay in the lane that you are forever. The habit of dismissal. The habit of dismissal talks about downplaying, minimizing, or even invalidating your own feelings, your own needs, and your own accomplishments. And this is huge. A lot of people do this, and I do it even to some degree, where you've accomplished a lot of things, and people say, "Oh man, you did a wonderful and amazing job," and you're like, "Ain't no big deal. Oh, that ain't nothing. Oh, it's cool." Go on and celebrate yourself. Go on and celebrate these things. I don't care how little it is. If you just got your driver's permit, if you only got an associate's degree, if you got a certificate of appreciation from somewhere, I don't care what it is. If you ran a mile for the first time in your life, whatever it is, go on and celebrate that thing to the highest degree, because I tell you, nobody's going to motivate yourself like you, right? If you have the ability to encourage yourself, all the other encouragement you get from other people is just going to be the cherry on the top. So go ahead and celebrate and encourage yourself, right? Some of the triggers of this particular habit of dismissal are receiving praise, and then you experience an emotion, and then you become vulnerable with that emotion. So for instance, if you graduated from college and you're emotional about it, but you don't want to cry in front of people, you might just begin to tell yourself, "Oh, graduating from college ain't no big deal. I really didn't do anything," just so you don't have to go and face people or walk across the stage or be up in front of a whole lot of people, and that can be overwhelming. All right. And then another example is someone could just tell you, "Hey man, you did a great job. You're awesome." And just like I said earlier, you just, "Oh, that was nothing." No, that's something. That's something. And you have to think that is something. So I said, go on and celebrate yourself, but also allow others to celebrate you and celebrate with you. Some of the behaviors that you might see in other people or even yourself, we just talked about, you'll deflect compliments. Like you won't even entertain compliments from anybody. Um, Saying that a great achievement is merely nothing, or it's not that great. Um, Ignoring emotions is a big one, and I know many of you have heard this, where you ask someone, "Hey, it looks like something's wrong with you. Like, what's going on?" And then you get the "I'm fine" comment. You know good and daggone well that they not fine. And so that's a clear indication that they are obviously dismissing something, and specifically they're dismissing their emotions. All right. And then another huge one is brushing off needs or putting off your needs to avoid burdening other people. And this one can be dangerous, because not only are you already suffering with, being in this habit loop, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but now you need something. And so now you're rationalizing why you won't ask. And so just because you feel like it's going to be a burden doesn't mean it will be. In most cases, many people may be happy to help and happy to assist you and may feel good about it. So again, those are just some of the behaviors. Now, we can't talk about all these behaviors and then not talk about why this particular dimension matters. Why are we talking about it? Why is it important? And your habits are or can be talked about as the invisible architecture for your mindset, right? Your thoughts become your habits, and then your habits shape your perception. And then also your habits determine your actions. And so working on these habits or working on this dimension means that you're not just going to chase temporary motivation. What you are going to attempt to do, or what you will be doing, is rewiring the automatic operating system that drives and runs and dictates your behavior. So that's a major reason why it's important. Habits are the invisible architecture of your mindset. Habits can also bypass or override willpower. And why do I say that? Well, willpower is energy, and your energy is limited and it can drain you. All right, your habits simply run on autopilot. So much of the time, there's no energy drain. Once you fix those things to run on autopilot, your healthy habits that are in the healthy habit loop, they keep you aligned even when your motivation or your willpower goes away, right? So if you have the habit of always drinking water, right, even if you're not motivated to drink water, your body is still going to have that craving, and it's going to go back. We talked about that muscle memory in the last episode. Your body's going to go back and always desire to have that water. So that's why it's important that the habits that are draining your energy, we need to rewire those. But the ones that are working in your favor, we need to make sure we continue to work on those. And so when your habits shift, you make the energy sustainable, right? Your mindset is sustainable instead of being fragile. Your habits are also important because they compound or multiply over time. So when we talk about compound, if you think of it as, if for my financial gurus out there, if you talk about interest, money, if you take a small amount of money and it compounds interest over time, that small amount of money can become a large amount of money. All right. So the same is with your habits. If you have a small negative habit and you continue to do that over time, it can become a very large bad habit. It can lead to burnout. It can lead to insecurity. It can even lead to missed opportunities in your life that may benefit and actually give you a chance to reverse that negative habit. But if you take a small positive habit, the same is true. It compounds. It can compound into confidence. It can compound into resilience. It can compound into maximizing your understanding of those same opportunities around you. And so working at this level or on this level ensures that the compounding effect is moving in the right direction. Is you're growing instead of eroding or taking away. So it's not increasing negative habits. It should decrease the negative and then bleed into and then promote and elevate the positive ones. Habits also define can define your identity. And what I mean by this is many people will say you are what you do, right? If you consistently do something, then that's who you believe you are. So for me, if I consistently play basketball, then I'm going to tell people I'm a basketball player, right? If I consistently um, go to work every day, I'm going to tell people, yes, I'm employed and I do this for a job. If I create art consistently or on a regular basis, I'm going to tell people that I, in fact, am an artist. And so your habits, what you do on a consistent basis, can define who you are, can define your identity. And when you rewire the habit, you can, in a sense, reclaim the narrative of your identity. So if you have a negative habit, if you change it to a positive one, you get to tell that story. You get to reclaim the narrative of that identity at its deepest level, at the foundational level, and rewrite it and rebuild it. Now, I've given you all this. I'm not going to leave you without any practical tools as to how can we make this area of our lives better? How can we build better mental habits? And first and foremost, and usually it's going to be with awareness. All right, we got to write this thing down. Write down your recurring thoughts. And I want you to do this for this next week. Write down your recurring thoughts and notice which ones are in a repeated loop, or we're going to call it the habit loop. Okay, write down your recurring thoughts for 1 week and notice which ones are in a repeated habit loop. And you can refer to some of the loops that we just went over. If by chance, though, you do not have a journal, I want you to go down to the link in the description of this show. Go ahead and grab yourself a copy of the official Master Your Mind journal, along with any other gear and apparel that you believe you might enjoy. But I do need you to have a journal. Write down your recurring thoughts for 1 week and notice which ones are in that repeated habit loop. Next, interpret your bad habit loops. I need you to interpret them, analyze them. What do they mean? And just like before, we need to name it if we need to. When you catch yourself in a limiting thought loop, I want you to put in a phrase like, that's an old habit. What's another option? All right. So when you catch yourself in this limiting loop, in a loop that's negative, insert a phrase such as, that's an old habit. What's another habit or option that I can use to replace it? And then finally, we got to do some practice. We have to practice what's called habit shifting. I want you to pick one thought, something that's positive, something that's uplifting. And I just need you to go on and repeat this a couple of times a day while you're doing any other normal routine that you do. You could be brushing your hair, you could be doing your makeup, you could be brushing your teeth, you could be driving to work, you could be cooking dinner, whatever it is. Pick one thought. One thought. So I am resourceful. I am successful. I am compassionate. I am patient. Whatever it is. Repeat that 2 to 3 times a day, or as many times as you need to, while you are doing one of those other normal routine habits that you have throughout your day. As usual, I'm going to leave you with some reflection prompts and some affirmations to take with you for this week. So let's get into some reflection. First, which habit of thought do you fall into most often? Which habit of thought do you fall into most often? Are you a worrier? Do you compare yourself? Do you think catastrophically? Do you dismiss things? Do you dismiss your emotions? Which habit of thought do you fall into the most? Let's figure that one out. And again, we're writing that down in our journals. Next, I need you to ask, what cues or triggers usually spark this habit? So you got to do a little bit more digging. Once you figure out where you fall, then you need to think about what just happened or what recently happened, or just what happened at all. What caused you to feel that way? All right, what cues or triggers usually spark the habit that you just named, the habit that you just wrote down? And finally, how do I feel after giving in to the habit? So now you got to analyze your emotions. You got to analyze your feelings. Do you feel good? Do you feel bad? Do you feel drained? Do you feel vindicated? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel confused, tired? Anything. Write down that feeling. And then finally, what new habit can I put in place that will change that feeling? And this is assuming that the feeling is something that you desire to change. What new habit can I put in place to change that feeling? What new habit can I put in place to change that feeling? While you're working on all of those things, so your affirmations for this week are going to be as follows. Affirmation number 1, I am free to release habits that minimize who I am. If they're not building you up, if they're not bringing you happiness, peace, or joy, let those things go. I am free. You are free to release habits that minimize who you are. Again, I am free to release habits that minimize who I am. Number 2, every moment is a chance to practice a better habit. Every moment. Even when going to sleep. Even when waking up in the morning. Even when driving to work. Every moment is a chance to practice a better habit. Every moment is a chance to practice a better habit. And finally, I am not the sum of my habits. I am the creator of my habits. I am not the sum of my habits. I am the creator of my habits. Once again, I am not the sum of my habits. I am the creator of my habits. My final thought for today is this. Your habits are the daily rhythms that they either reinforce who we've been, or they will unlock who we are becoming or who we are trying to become. Each repeated choice strengthens a pathway in the mind, and over time, these pathways shape the way we live. Okay, we must master our habits. We reclaim the steering wheel of our mindset instead of letting go and letting those old patterns drive us. We need to master our habits so that we can reclaim the steering wheel of our mindset. And this is important because we need to let go of those old patterns that used to drive us. But habits don't just exist in a vacuum. Every habit is fueled by a little bit deeper narrative. And this is the story that you tell yourself about who you are, about what's possible, and about what you deserve. And the next dimension, the story dimension, is the script running in the background of your mind. All right. And so we're going to talk about when you change the story and suddenly your habits, your emotions, and your actions begin to align with the new story or the new reality that you see. All right. So let's step into the story dimension in our next show, and we will uncover the powerful narratives shaping your mind. As always, thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, check your vibe. Mind bright, vibe right. Yes, indeed. People, if this podcast has shifted your mindset or moved you to change your vibe, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody that you love, somebody that you care about, or someone that you believe can vibe in a new way. Leave me a review, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at KingYesIndeed. Also, if you are interested in vibe coaching consultation, please email me at kingyesindeed@gmail.com. Let's find more personally tailored approach to your vibe. I get one-on-one coaching. I can do group coaching through mind or vibe or mindset coaching classes. Until next time, people, check your vibe. Mind bright, vibe right. Yes, indeed.